Welcome back to History for Sleep, a place where time slows, where the noise of the present fades, and where the past is allowed to speak softly. As you settle in, let your body relax. Let your breathing find its own rhythm. There is nothing you need to remember tonight, only stories and the quiet endurance of stone. Tonight, we're exploring something that has watched centuries pass without moving: the silent guardians. Ancient structures that resisted time, weather, collapse, and decay, long after the civilizations that built them disappeared. Across the world, ruins stand where voices once echoed. Temples, walls, roads, cities. Some are broken, but others remain astonishingly intact. Not cracked, not collapsed, not reclaimed by the earth. They endure storms, earthquakes, heat, cold, and centuries of neglect. And the question lingers quietly in the background. How? Ancient builders did not have modern concrete, steel reinforcement, or advanced machinery. They lacked computers. They lacked simulations. They lacked standardized measurements. And yet, they built structures that outlast modern ones. This is not myth. It is observable. One of the first answers lies in material choice. Ancient builders often used stone not for speed, but for permanence. Granite, basalt, limestone. These materials weather slowly, but material alone is not enough. Many modern structures use strong materials and still fail, so something else was happening. Ancient builders understood environment. They observed how water flowed, how wind moved, how the ground shifted. They did not fight nature. They cooperated with it. Foundations were laid where water drained naturally. Structures followed the land instead of reshaping it. This reduced stress, and stress is what breaks buildings. Consider ancient roads. Roman roads still form the base of modern highways. Layered stone, careful drainage, slight curvature to shed water. No asphalt, no steel. Yet they survive, because water was managed. Moisture is the greatest enemy of permanence. Ancient builders knew this instinctively. Many ancient structures were also overbuilt. Not optimized, not minimal. Stones were larger than necessary. Walls thicker than required. Margins wider than practical. Why? Because time was not their enemy. Failure was. Ancient societies valued continuity over efficiency. They built as if the future mattered. Then there is mortar, or the absence of it. Some of the most enduring structures use no mortar at all. Perfectly fitted stones rely on gravity, friction, and geometry. When the earth moves, the stones shift slightly and settle again. Flexible, not rigid. Modern concrete cracks. Ancient stone adapts. Roman concrete is another mystery. It grows stronger over time. Chemical reactions with seawater form crystals that reinforce the structure from within. Modern concrete degrades. Roman concrete heals. We know the ingredients, but the precise process, the ratios, timing, and conditions, is still debated. The knowledge survived partially. The full method did not. Climate also played a role. Ancient builders accounted for heat expansion, freeze cycles, and humidity. In deserts, walls were thick to buffer temperature swings. In humid regions, elevated foundations allowed air circulation. Structures breathed. They were not sealed. They aged gracefully. Some ancient sites resist decay because they were abandoned gently, not destroyed, not repurposed. When structures are left alone, they stabilize. Modern cities constantly modify, load, and stress buildings. Ancient ruins were allowed to rest. Time does not always destroy. Sometimes it preserves. This is where theories begin to diverge. Some suggest ancient builders possessed lost knowledge. Advanced mathematics, precision measurement systems, construction techniques never recorded. Others argue this knowledge was not lost, just misunderstood. That patience itself was the technology. Then there are more speculative ideas. That certain structures were designed to resonate with the earth, aligned with seismic stability. built at nodes of geological calm. These ideas are debated, but research does show that many ancient sites sit on stable bedrock, chosen deliberately. There are also conspiracies, claims that ancient structures used unknown binding agents, lost energy technologies, even assistance from unknown sources. There is no evidence for these claims, but their persistence reveals something important. The endurance of these structures challenges our assumptions. As you listen now, notice how calming permanence can feel. These structures do not rush. They do not demand attention. They simply remain, watching seasons pass, watching civilizations rise and fall. Across continents and centuries, certain ancient structures seem almost indifferent to time. They stand while cities around them collapse. They remain while climates shift. They endure earthquakes that destroy newer buildings nearby. This endurance is not random. It is the result of choices made slowly and deliberately. Take ancient temples in South Asia. Many were built using interlocking stone systems without mortar. Each stone was shaped to fit another with remarkable precision. When earthquakes strike, these stones do not resist movement. They move together. Energy travels through the structure instead of breaking it apart. Modern rigid buildings often fail for this reason. They resist movement until they crack. Ancient structures absorbed it. In Central America, massive stepped pyramids have survived centuries of rain, humidity, and seismic activity. Their secret lies in layers. Not solid mass, but carefully arranged stone and earth that allow water to drain and pressure to dissipate. The pyramids breathe. They release stress instead of trapping it. In the Mediterranean, ancient harbors still exist beneath the sea. Roman engineers built piers that hardened when exposed to salt water. As seawater penetrated the concrete, chemical reactions formed rare minerals that strengthened the structure over time. The ocean did not erode them. It reinforced them. This was not an accident. It was observation turned into method. Ancient walls often curve slightly, not for beauty, but for stability. Curves distribute force. Straight lines concentrated. Wind pressure, seismic waves, even temperature expansion are spread evenly across curved surfaces. Many modern buildings favor sharp angles and flat faces. Ancient builders preferred resilience. Then there is alignment. Many ancient structures are oriented carefully to the sun, wind, and landscape. This was not only symbolic. It reduced wear. Sunlight warmed walls evenly. Wind flowed around structures rather than striking them head-on. Rain was directed away from foundations. Environmental intelligence was embedded in design. Some of the most enduring ancient sites were also isolated, built away from floodplains, away from unstable soil, away from human interference. Location was technology. The best building is useless if placed poorly. Ancient societies understood this deeply. This brings us to a subtle truth. Ancient builders did not separate architecture from nature. They saw construction as participation. Modern engineering often views nature as an obstacle. Ancient engineering viewed it as a partner. There is also the matter of maintenance. Many ancient structures were maintained continuously for centuries. Stones replaced, drainage cleared, cracks addressed early. Decay accelerates when ignored. Longevity depends on care. When civilizations fell, some structures survived precisely because they had already reached equilibrium. They no longer needed intervention. Some researchers argue that ancient structures resisted decay because they were never pushed beyond their limits. They were not optimized for maximum use. They were built with restraint. Modern buildings aim for efficiency. Ancient buildings aimed for stability. Then there are the unanswered questions. Why do some ancient structures survive while others nearby crumble? Why do some stones weather slowly while others erode rapidly? Why do some ruins feel almost untouched, while others vanish? The answers vary. Material, design, environment, chance. There is no single explanation, only patterns. Speculation often fills the gaps. Some believe ancient builders had access to lost chemical treatments. Others suggest unknown binding agents. A few propose energetic properties, resonance with the earth itself. These ideas are intriguing, but evidence remains limited. What we can say with certainty is this: ancient builders paid attention. They observed long-term outcomes. They thought in centuries, not seasons. As your breathing slows, imagine these structures at night. Silent, unmoving, stars passing overhead, wind brushing against stone that has felt it 1,000 times before. There is comfort in endurance. In recent decades, engineers and scientists have begun to look backward for answers. Not out of nostalgia, but necessity. Modern structures fail faster than expected. Concrete cracks within decades. Steel corrodes. Maintenance costs rise. And so researchers ask a quiet question: why did ancient buildings last so long? The answers are slowly emerging. Not as secrets, but as reminders. Ancient builders understood redundancy. They did not rely on single points of failure. Loads were distributed across many elements. If one stone weakened, others compensated. Modern designs often rely on precise calculations with little margin. Efficiency replaces forgiveness. Ancient structures were forgiving. Modern materials science has confirmed what ancient builders learned empirically. Stress concentrates at sharp corners. Moisture infiltrates micro cracks. Small weaknesses compound over time. Ancient designs minimized these vulnerabilities. Thick walls absorbed temperature changes. Porous materials allowed moisture to escape. Natural fibers flexed rather than fractured. Durability came from balance. There is also the role of time itself. Ancient construction allowed materials to settle. Foundations were left to stabilize before walls rose. Mortars cured slowly. Stone dried naturally. Modern construction is rushed. Deadlines compress curing times. Structures are loaded before equilibrium is reached. The building survives, but ages prematurely. Another rediscovered principle is local sourcing. Ancient builders used materials from nearby environments. Stone expanded and contracted at rates matching local climate. Wood responded naturally to humidity patterns. Modern materials are shipped globally. They do not always belong where they are placed. Mismatch creates stress. Stress accelerates decay. Some ancient sites benefited from cultural reverence. They were protected, maintained, left undisturbed. Modern buildings are repurposed, remodeled, expanded, stressed. Change introduces weakness. Stillness preserves. This leads to a sobering realization. Longevity is not accidental. It is chosen. It requires patience, restraint, and humility. Values that do not always align with modern priorities. Can modern society build structures meant to last centuries? Technically, yes. But culturally, the answer is less certain. We build for speed, for profit, for immediacy. Ancient societies built for continuity, for legacy, for the unknown future. There is also a philosophical dimension. Ancient structures were not designed to be perfect. They were designed to age. Cracks were expected. Wear was anticipated. The building was meant to change, slowly. Modern architecture often resists aging. When it cannot, it fails. As you rest now, consider this quiet truth. Decay is not always the enemy. Unmanaged decay is. Ancient builders accepted time as a collaborator. The silent guardians remain not because they are unbreakable, but because they were allowed to be imperfect, flexible, adaptable, patient. When all these threads are woven together, a deeper understanding begins to emerge. The ancient structures that resisted centuries of decay were not built to defeat time. They were built to live with it. This is the quiet insight modern eyes often miss. Ancient builders did not imagine permanence as stasis. They imagined it as endurance through change. Time was not an enemy to be outrun. It was a force to be anticipated. Walls were thick not because stone was abundant, but because weather was inevitable. Foundations were broad not because land was cheap, but because movement was expected. Nothing was built assuming the world would remain still. This mindset shaped everything. Materials were chosen not for appearance, but for how they aged. Surfaces were left rough so they could erode evenly. Edges were softened to avoid stress fractures. Drainage was designed first, ornament second. Beauty followed function, and function followed humility. Many ancient cultures believed buildings had life cycles. They were born, they matured, they weathered, they rested. Maintenance was not seen as repair, but as participation. To care for a structure was to remain connected to those who built it. When that connection broke, decay accelerated, not because the structure failed, but because the relationship did. This may explain why some ruins feel peaceful rather than broken. They reached a state of equilibrium. Their materials settled. Their load stabilized. They became part of the landscape instead of resisting it. In that state, decay slows dramatically. Time passes, but change becomes gentle. There is also something quietly instructive here for the present. We often ask how to make things last. Ancient builders asked a different question. How do we build so that failure is slow, visible, and manageable? Sudden collapse was unacceptable. Gradual work could be addressed. This is why ancient structures often show damage long before they fail. They warn. Modern structures sometimes do not. The silent guardians teach us that resilience is not rigidity. It is adaptability. It is allowance. It is patience embedded in form. As you rest now, imagine these ancient places at dusk. Light softening stone. Shadows stretching across walls that have seen countless sunsets. No urgency. No demand. Only presence. The past does not insist on being admired. It simply remains. And in remaining, it offers a lesson without words. Build with care. Build with time in mind. Build knowing that change will come. There is nothing left to uncover tonight. No mystery unresolved. Only a quiet respect for endurance. And the understanding that some of the strongest things in human history survived not by resisting time, but by welcoming it. Let your thoughts slow. Let the images fade gently. And allow sleep to arrive when it wishes. The silent guardians will keep watch. They always have.